Hello and welcome to the Apple Insider Podcast. This is your host, Wes Hilliard speaking, and today's show is sponsored by Sanebox and Fast Growing Trees. I'm joined again by William Gallagher. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm grand, thank you. How are you? Are you still wearing Vision Pro, or is that over now? That's passé.
Actually, I haven't taken it off in about 3 weeks.
Right.
Not even to shower. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, okay.
No,
Ooh. All right.
there's actually a YouTube video of someone showering with Apple Vision Pro on. No. Yeah, I don't understand it, but
are they supposed to be waterproof or is...
No?
Okay.
There's literally exhaust vents in the top that go straight to the circuitry. So I'm sure they destroyed that headset doing that video.
Right. Well, you know what? It's only $3,500. What's that? And if that's to have a second take, I'm sure they had a spare one ready, like all professional YouTubers do.
Oh, no, apparently they've all returned them, if you haven't read all of the news. I know we covered it a little bit last week, but it's just the article titles keep getting more and more aggressive about it. It's really quite fun.
Right. Okay. Right, but...
Well, so today we're going to play another... round of where is Wesley's Mac today. So
okay.
What do you think, now that I've been using Vision Pro primarily, what do you think I've done with my MacBook Pro?
I think it's right in front of you so that you can connect to it like a proper Mac user with Vision Pro. Yeah?
So turns out I've purchased a bookshelf for my office, and one of the shelves is the perfect height to put my MacBook Pro with the 12 South book arc to stand it upright. So in the corner of my office, there's a little bookshelf with my MacBook sitting on the bottom shelf with a cable running down. There's a cabinet section in the very bottom. And in that cabinet is a small portable monitor. So that way it can... be turned on, and I have a magic mouse on my desk that is turned off, but if I want to wake my Mac and connect to it in Vision Pro, I turn on the magic mouse, wiggle it, and the Mac wakes with the screen on underneath the cabinet, and then I connect to it in Vision Pro, the display turns off under the cabinet, and now I have a Mac in my Vision Pro, and my MacBook is on a bookshelf.
No.
I thought you might find that amusing.
Well, yeah, it was faintly horrifying, actually, but hang on a minute. By chance, last week when we recorded it, the moment we finished recording, I had to go somewhere, and it's too complicated to explain why. I had to bring my Office Mac Mini with me, so I did, and Mac Minis are very small, but the monitor, very big, so I didn't bring that. I used it as a headless Mac with my iPad Pro as the monitor into it using Screens app. So is there no way to do something like that with Vision Pro? You can't.
Well, you can run things headless. It's just
you can't
Macs
see
are Macs are finicky. Let's see, what's his name? Luke Miani on YouTube ripped a monitor off of a MacBook Air, the display half, and was still able to connect the keyboard half using the same connection feature and utilize the keyboard and trackpad, which is interesting as a concept. Like, I don't think Apple's ever going to ship a trackpad keyboard Mac without a display like that, but definitely cool in concept.
Yeah, you say cool. That's horror. Ripping it apart, that's murder.
It was pretty aggressive. So I would definitely say that it's definitely not. I wouldn't want to do that because I still want a functional MacBook, right? If I need it, if I don't have the Vision Pro, I still want to have a display to look at. But no, for whatever reason, it's difficult to get a Mac to do anything when there's not a monitor attached, and you can fake it with like an HDMI plug that tells it that a monitor is attached. There's ways to do this, and that could work. But right now, what I had on me was a portable monitor I've not touched in months, sitting in a closet that I could just plug in. I didn't, rather than ordering a new complicated contraption, I just hooked this little guy up, and it worked perfectly. So I might get more complicated later, but for now, this works.
I use an app called Screens, which I used to use when I didn't have a MacBook Pro, and I would be out somewhere on my iPad, I would use it on that to connect into my Office Mac. And for some reason, and who knows why, 2 years ago, it stopped connecting like that. But while I'm in the house or while I'm on the same Wi-Fi network, it works fine. So I switched on the Mac Mini. I remembered my password without being able to see where I was typing it. Just kind of waited till it was probably waiting for the password. Gave it a few moments to launch all its stuff, and then straight in through my iPad. It's frankly sophisticated way of doing it compared to your stringing wires everywhere and Luke Milani's. Wait a minute.
Stringing wires. The bookshelf has a pass-through. It's fine.
Yeah, all right. But hang on. Sorry, I'm a bit slow here. Luke Milani ripped the top off a MacBook, but you can just close the lid on the MacBook and use an external...
Again, when the lid's closed, you can't actually do anything. For what that, like, it really the system aggressively sleeps when you shut the lid, unless there's an external monitor connected.
Oh, okay. I was forgetting that bit about external monitor because I've seen people use it clamshell mode and stuff like that. Okay, right. That makes sense.
As I speak, so the good thing about the Book Arc and the MacBook is it's portable. So I grab it off the shelf, carry it over to my desk. Now this, again, I'm going to get more complicated later and probably run my microphone wire to the bookshelf because the bookshelf's next to my desk. Yeah. So I don't have to move the MacBook, but today I moved it to my desk, plugged it into the Thunderbolt cable. It's normally reserved for my iPad, and that's how we're recording this podcast, is the MacBook's currently connected to a studio display, but I'm not looking at it on the studio display. I'm looking at it inside the headset. So, very all fun and modularity at the end of the day. But this is not the Vision Pro podcast.
No, it isn't. Nor is it the William hasn't plugged his Mac Mini back in a week podcast, nope. But it could be. I'm actually surprised to realise, because it's recording more or less the same time, it is precisely 7 days since I took the Mac Mini away, and it's lying behind me, not plugged back in again. I've done everything in the week on my MacBook Pro, wherever I was. Aren't MacBook Pros wonderful?
They're pretty great. And see, this gets back to older discussion we had about how I wanted to replace my MacBook with a Mac Mini that just sits maybe on this bookshelf in perpetuity. But I've realized since Apple Vision Pro came out, man, wouldn't it be great to have a MacBook? And I can't remember who said it exactly. It's probably someone along the lines of Federico Viticci or John Gruber. But they mentioned, wouldn't it be perfect if a M3 12-inch MacBook existed for Vision Pro? It would be like the perfect companion. You could pull this thing out anywhere, put on the headset, and bam, now you have a miniature keyboard trackpad perfectly compatible with Vision Pro, and it all works, of course, over battery power that only lasts about 2 hours. But anyway.
But sorry, hang on. I can't work out whether I've guessed this or heard it somewhere. You can only use Vision Pro with a MacBook. You can't connect it to a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio.
No. That was a mistake. You can use it with desktops, absolutely.
Well, then
it's just
buy yourself a Mac Mini and away off you go.
Well, I can't take the Mac Mini to I guess I could take it to a coffee shop and plug it in with the Vision Pro or something. But at that point, I would prefer something portable with a keyboard and trackpad attached.
Yeah, okay. I see your point there. Yes. Okay.
But this is an Apple Sports podcast. Actually, today, Apple, I guess yesterday, as we record, Apple released a Apple Sports app. Very odd piece of software. I don't know if you've had a chance to poke at it, but it's kind of empty until it isn't. This was definitely one of the weirdest onboarding experiences I've had with an Apple app. I just turned it on and it was just kind of, hey, there's nothing happening today. Just okay. It doesn't give you any instructions. Obviously, they need to fix the onboarding because it should let you choose teams right off the bat or something.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe it glitched out for me. But have you messed with this app?
Oh, it's a sports app. People have to hold me back. I was running towards that. Which football team will I add first? First, I'd have to think of a football team, and that could take a while. No, basically, I didn't. I feel almost guilty now, but it never crossed my mind to even try it out.
It surprised me how many people reached out angry that the NFL wasn't available to follow, or NCAA football in America, considering the season is over, right?
Oh, right.
I think Apple made a mistake here because they have the capability. It's all built into Apple News. If anyone who has already went to Apple News or even Apple TV, I believe, has this functionality built in, you can choose your favorite sports team and have those highlighted in whatever way. That is a part of Apple Sports. And if you already had teams selected, like I had the Nashville MLS team selected, and that showed up in Apple Sports, but guess what? sport team level stats aren't available yet, so it's just grayed out. I can't even click on it. But that's the only thing that showed up, despite me having NFL and NCAA football teams selected as well in Apple News. The functionality's there, but Apple just chose not to include it because I guess they figured it would be confusing to users, but instead they're just mad that they can't, choose the Broncos or something.
I did notice, because I actually wrote the news story saying it was out, here it is, this is where you get it, that kind of news story. The list of teams it supported. I got the fact that it was listing ones who are playing now, and that later when seasons start, others will be added. I didn't actually realise that sports seasons ran at different times of the year, but okay. I noticed the Premier League was listed there, and I know that's a UK football thing, but there are many other football things in Britain.
For sure.
So is that really just the only one that's playing now, or the only one Apple's heard of?
Well, I mean, there's several leagues in the list, and it's mostly, baseball starts in a few days in America. MLS started when this app came out, so they wanted it to debut alongside Messi's debut, and I think that was the point. Right. But there's also basketball, hockey, All-American leagues. But then there's, of course, multiple foreign leagues, which I won't even try to bother to pronounce, but you can go check it out. But like different French leagues of different things. But all of the foreign stuff looks like foreign football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. For now. Everyone's asking, where's NASCAR? Where's, which is the American racing sport? Where's F1? Where's...
Wait a minute. You choose NASCAR to explain to me, but all the other initials have just gone straight by.
Well, I don't know. I feel like, these are pretty widely known. NBA, just, basketball, NHL, hockey. But I didn't say the letters that time, William. You weren't paying attention. I said the name of the sport. I'm trying to help you out here.
Well, you mean I glossed over when you were talking about sport? That's almost hard to believe, isn't it? Well, the thing is, I expect you to be a sports fan because you play games, don't you? And isn't it just the same thing, except instead of you playing, it's however many people are in a football team?
I enjoy the idea of sports. I can't get into it. I'm not one of those... I like being in a room with other people who are really excited about a team playing today, and I'm just eating chicken wings in the corner. Like that's my experience with sports. I'll root for the Tennessee Volunteers whenever they're playing. I understand what the rivalries are. I've tried to force myself to care. I just can't. I don't care. I don't care who the coach is. I don't care who the quarterback is. Yada yada. It's just something about my brain just doesn't connect with it in the way that other people do. And I'm jealous of that. I kind of wish I could get into it that way because it seems fun. But anyway, chicken wings, delicious. Yes. Anyway, I've been getting into hotter and hotter hot sauces and just making everyone around me very sad and worried for my health.
Okay.
But in any case, this is an interesting app. I think it'll evolve with time. I think it's going to pull in Apple stocks and pull in the sports features from Apple News eventually. I would like to see that sports tab go away in Apple News and become customizable.
Yes.
We've discussed that before.
Well, every time I look at it, I think, well, I want the crosswords feature to come to the UK, so that's my big aim. But every time I think, why am I'm not knocking sport. It's just, for me, it's an alien language. I will never look in there, and I can't bear Apple News Plus on a Saturday because you start reading a headline and it sounds really serious. Oh, it's sport again,
Mm-hmm.
And so just kind of filter out some things would be nice. And that button, yes, I could use that for other things, please.
Apple's apps are designed to be the simplest, most... Basically, they want to provide an example for other developers to say, this is what your app should look like if it's a notes app. This is what your app should look like if it's a news aggregator or now a sports thing or a journal app. And it's kind of their idea of condensing these things down into the most minimal, perfect Apple version of that app. And I like that Apple does that. Yes. I really hope other developers take a look at this app and say, we should try that. The app, of course, is very limited. It's filled with sports betting if you don't want to see the odds. I don't even understand what the odds mean, honestly. I kind of get it, maybe. There's a spread and like a money line. I don't know. Right. But these appear everywhere. You can turn that off in settings. So if you don't care about that weird thing that's become very legal across the United States, you can turn that off. and see only the scores and team stats and stuff. And that's nice for this app. It's going to have live activities eventually. There's a lot of features coming, but for now, if a game is live, you get a link to the Apple TV app to whatever it's playing on, which is something other apps don't do. ESPN, because it's a Disney property, only links to other ESPN apps and ABC, which is useless.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting.
I'm surprised about live activities, because I remember when live activities first came along, sports was the example everybody gave for it. I mean, I've used it for flights and things, and I think it's great, but I just unthinkingly assumed the new app had live activities as well. So
I saw someone describe, I'll attribute it to Steve Troughton-Smith, if it might be him, but he said this looks like a weekend project done by a college student, kind of development level. And I tend to agree. It does kind of look like Apple woke up a month and a half ago and I was like, wait a minute, MLS starts this year. Why don't we have a sports app? And just assigned it to some intern and told them, all right, we need to show at least the score and the spread and whatnot. Get it done by Messi's debut. It needs to debut alongside of that. So they had a deadline. There's probably a few people assigned to this. I'm exaggerating, of course, but they had a deadline. So whatever features they could get done to at least show information that they already have access to. They already have access to the scores, live updates, the play-by-play. All of this information is in Apple News and in Apple TV apps already. They just needed to create an app, a wrapper surrounding it, and they did a great job, I think. It's just they had to ship. So there's a reason why this stuff's missing. It's only going to grow from here.
I think that's true, isn't it? If everything Apple does, they iterate forward. Well, if actually including the Vision Pro and Vision OS, I'm sure. My mind's gone to Pages and things like that, which you're saying you like Apple's simplicity approach, its minimalist approach, and I like it very much because it always feels like Apple thinks your work is the important thing, whereas Microsoft thinks it is deigning to allow you to use its many features. But I do know people that believe Pages can't do as much as Word because it's not in their face doing things for it. So
it's buried in menus.
Yeah, yeah. But I like that approach.
Yeah, so you have to click on the My Leagues or My Team button at the top and then start adding things in order for content to populate. Otherwise, it's an empty screen, which, again, I found a little odd. The same thing happened with the Journal app. The first time you open it, there's a plus button. That's about all you have.
True. I'd forgotten.
There wasn't even a plus button for this app, and I feel like Apple needs to be better about onboarding. Again, maybe mine glitched out and there is onboarding. I just didn't see it. But in any case, one last note on this app. It's designed specifically with sports in mind. They want to get the information to you as it's happening. If you ever used other sports aggregator apps that just bring scores in, there's popular ones that have live activities. That's for viewing many different things, including F1 and whatnot. If you ever have that open next to a live game, you'll notice the live game is minutes, if not, maybe not minutes, but at least a minute ahead. You know, there's several seconds between them, so you might be on your phone getting information people have had for multiple minutes, and that is crucial in a game, especially maybe if you're betting on it, because that's a thing people do now. So Apple's goal with this app was to get information as close to live as possible, and I think they've achieved that with this one. It seems like it's pretty quick. I opened a Premier League game yesterday, and it was interesting seeing how all of that flowed in. But again, it'll be even better once live activities launch.
Got to say, I'm now looking at my F1 key very suspiciously. I trusted that function key, but, you know, if it's going to be late, I've probably missed the point there, haven't I? I'll shut up now. Okay.
You should know what F1 is. Well, you don't live under a rock.
No. I don't want to say corruption was the first word that popped into my mind, alongside allegedly. I might be thinking of a different sport altogether. I think I am, really.
I mean, you're thinking of all sports, I'm fairly certain. But that's not the point. Speaking of all sports, Apple wants to have the Vision Pro involved in more things. So they have at least promised openly that there will be a kind of after the fact, so after a game is played or after like a very important MLS game is played maybe, There will be highlights and kind of a documentary style after, like, what am I looking for? Sports highlights from the game, but shot entirely for the Vision Pro in 3D from impossible seats, like above the goal or near the goal line, in the field, whatnot, shared after the fact, so sports fans can go relive those moments, but in full spatial 3D, and I find that interesting. I think that would be really fun for American football. A lot of sports would actually be really cool. I think if Apple could buy a NASCAR team or something, wouldn't it be wild to have a spatial camera attached to one of these vehicles or something?
Oh, forget that. Give everybody Apple Vision Pro now.
Oh, right.
Wait.
No, NASCAR driving at, 200, 300 miles an hour? Just have the... have people strap a Vision Pro to their headset or something, Yeah.
Okay, I might even watch a minute or two. I've been to one half of one football game in my life, and it was a job. I was working there, and I got out. It was weirdly... the atmosphere was very strange there. So, but I've never actually watched a match on television ever.
I can enjoy watching baseball. I prefer watching it live. Football's fine, like American football. I don't understand watching soccer. It's fun, like the excitement is there, but it's just I'm exhausted watching them run for 30 minutes straight.
I can cope with that. Let them run. I can read a book. I tell you, I have actually enjoyed a Wimbledon match, and I can't remember which one it was. But yes, okay. So I'm not anti-sports, just not into it at all. But there we go.
One last sport. Basketball. It appears that there were cameras used for spatial recording found during the what is it?
There was a slam dunk contest.
Yeah, slam dunk contest. Again, cool. Imagine having a camera near or above the goal and on the court. And if you've experienced it, I know you haven't, William, but if you've used the Vision Pro for the Alicia Keys immersive video, you can see, because you jump around. I just heard myself echo. That was weird. You can see the cameras that are used to record what's happening around the room, and they have them in these like beautiful white boxes. They almost look like shelves. So if you didn't know to look for the lenses, you probably would miss it and just say, wow, that's an odd piece of furniture. This camera at the NBA game was similar, but it was less disguised. It was this black ugly thing with two holes in the front. I think we're going to see more of these in different places, and I'm glad that Apple's trying to capture... we don't know this is Apple. This is a rumor. We just saw a 3D camera at a basketball game. But it's probably for this, or at least someone is recording it. Maybe there's a new documentary coming to MetaQuest. Who knows? But I feel like we're going to see more of these things other places. I'm just surprised that they did not do this for the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Oh, good point. I knew there was a making of. Sorry, my mind's on you hearing an echo of yourself. I didn't hear it, but I think that means, Wes, you're in spatial audio.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You heard it here first and possibly last, but okay. All right.
Well,
I'd really like to try some of the experiences. Alicia Keys would be like the first thing I'd watch, but things like this, the Star Trek experience, OmniFocus is now in test flight on it, so I'm ever more keen to try this, but possibly not for sports. I don't know if you picked up on that at all. This week's episode is brought to you by the AI email management tool, SaneBox. Now, you cannot get me off email. I love email. It is the greatest. But whether you feel the same way or not, you're unlikely to love the sheer volume of email that you have to answer, and that seems to come at you just when you need to concentrate on something else. SaneBox just sorts that out. Whatever email service you use, SaneBox provides a set of tools that can help you. Take Sane Reminders, for example. You're emailing someone. If you BCC the address 1week@sanebox.com, that's the digit 1 and the word week, so 1week@sanebox.com, you send it off and you put that email completely out of your mind until a week later, without you doing anything else, without you having to think about it or take the time to chase something. If your recipient has not replied in 1 week, SaneBox knows and will send you a reminder. It's great for delegating tasks and knowing that you don't have to keep track of other people and whether they've done what they've said they will. Or, and this is really good, the same applies to you. You can give yourself a nudge to make sure you do something. For instance, we've just had Valentine's Day, but say that or something else is still coming up. You could send an email to the address feb14.2pm at sanebox.com, so February the 14th, 2 p.m., feb14.2pm at sanebox.com. Give it a subject like, buy that book your partner wants, and yeah, you already know where this is going. At 2 o'clock on the afternoon of February the 14th, you will get that email popping up on all of your devices. There's a lot more like that you can do with the reminders, and actually SaneBox has full, clear documentation on its website. But even before you've done that, before you look into any of the detail, once you get SaneBox, it is immediately helping you out. Its AI identifies what email is actually important, it organises away everything else, and it gets better and better as you use it. SaneBox is a PC Magazine top productivity tool of 2024, and it has just a slew of features to help keep you staying on top of your inbox. Find out for yourself. Find out how SaneBox can help your time and your concentration with a free 2-week trial. Visit sanebox.com/insider today to start your free trial and get a $25 credit. That's sanebox.com/insider. And our thanks to SaneBox for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
Well, I have another thing that you're very interested in here, William, and that's quantum physics. Would you like to explain?
Yes, absolutely. If you don't understand quantum physics, no. What's the Niels Bohr line? If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you're wrong. That kind of thing. Or is it? No, it's more than that. It's like if you're not, blown apart, mind blown by that, you don't understand it. I should look up the real quote, couldn't I? A little bit. But you've got quantum mechanics on your mind, and I'm thinking a leap from NASCAR to quantum mechanics. There's probably a connection there. Why are you bringing this up now? Is it just a list of things to test me on for some reason?
Well, so Apple obviously has quantum mechanics on their mind because they're worried about quantum computing eventually being able to crack iMessage encryption. And this is something we've heard of before. The FBI, for instance, when they were trying to get Apple to build backdoors to the iMessage system, San Bernardino, I always ruin that word, but that whole incident, I remember being a part of the story being that the FBI and several police precincts around the United States just have drawers of locked iPhones waiting for the day that someone just can crack into these things. And there's actually a official term for this. It's called harvest now, decrypt later.
Ooh.
And the hope is that eventually computing will get so good, so powerful, so fast that even Apple's encryption will be able to be broken, and we'll be able to get into these devices and finally discover who the real terrorists are. And
actually, sorry, there's a term in the UK called cold cases. I don't know if that's in the States as well, investigating long ago crimes. At some point, today's phones will be long enough ago that people will get into them, and all of that data, all of these crimes that could be solved. Sorry, I need to go write a film now.
So basically the idea is right now, if you want to get into someone's system, breaking that encryption requires just kind of brute forcing it, guessing the encryption key number and letter by number and letter, which leads to millions and billions of combinations that can just take millennia. If a computer right now sequentially tried to break down even one iMessage encryption protocol, it could take 1,000 years unless it just got lucky. The idea of quantum computing would mean that it would be able to do this much faster, if not nearly instantly, minutes rather than years. So quantum computing is very powerful. We're not going to get into why or how, because that's above even our pay grade. I've met people who work on quantum computing, very smart people. Not too distant from the nuclear field, just a different branch, I suppose. But in any case, what happens is Apple has decided, okay, quantum computing will eventually be a thing. We're already seeing signs of it now, but it's far enough away that it's still not really a present danger. There's no way this can happen today. It's too expensive to even attempt it, and the computers that do exist, just they're not built for this. So Apple has built a system to change how encryption works for iMessage. Instead of giving you one encryption key, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Did you write this story?
No, I knew there was an iMessage improvement, but I didn't realize it was at quantum level. So no, this is all new to me.
So Apple isn't doing anything quantum, to be clear, but they're protecting themselves against quantum computing. So more or less, because there's 1,000 words here in this article. Go read it. It'll help you understand this better. But to give you the broadest overview, basically what's happening is instead of encrypting, giving you an encryption key that can unlock the iMessage directory inside of your phone, which if someone cracked it, then they would have access to the entire history and everything. Apple is doing it in kind of bundles now, but they can't do it per message. Maybe it'll eventually get to that point because it's just we'll be that good at it or whatever. But right now it's bundling up groups of messages. They didn't say how many. I think they're trying to keep that all abstract, but slices of your message conversation have different keys, so that even if someone got a hold of your iMessage conversation and tried to decrypt any one of the keys, they would only see like, hey, hello, how are you? Love you, mom. And then that would be the entire conversation they would see. And they would have to get incredibly lucky to find the juicy bits that they're actually looking for. And again, they would have to decrypt multiple keys, which takes time, computing power, money. And even when quantum computers become more readily available, it's still a time-consuming, expensive process to try to decrypt hundreds of different keys for a single conversation. So I think this is a smart way to go about it. What do you think? It's shipping with iOS 17.4 and the rest of them.
What I'm thinking, what I'm getting from this is that I should start all my most illicit message threads with, hi, Mum, how are you? Lovely to see you. Great weather. That kind of thing. And then, only on the third part, go into the, and which bank should we rob tonight? That kind of thing. Is that what you're saying? Is that your advice for the safety of the future?
Not quite, because I think that the attacks can be more sophisticated than just starting at the beginning. They could probably try to get within a date range. Again, this is all above our pay grade. I don't know what a encrypted file looks like. If it's just, I understand it's a jumble of nonsense, but perhaps they can look for date codes and isolate what they're looking for. I have no idea. But this system, though, actually makes some little bit of sense to me. I recommend everyone just go. Apple released information on this. There's a fun little diagram, and they it's one of the rare examples of Apple kind of calling out competitors on a piece of paper. They're talking about so this chart I put in the show notes for William's sake. There's different levels of cryptography, and level 0 is Skype, Telegram, and WeChat. Level 1 is end encryption by default, which is where iMessage used to be. Well, if you're on 17.3 today, that's where it is currently, alongside apps like Line, Viber, and WhatsApp. Level 2 and Level 3 don't have competitors listed. So this is the post-quantum cryptography, basically Apple building cryptography focusing on defeating quantum computing. Apple isn't focused on Level 2, which basically is only looking at creating the post-quantum cryptography keys one at a time for an entire set. Apple's going all the way to what they call Level 3, where they're establishing these keys and rekeying them periodically for different groups of messages. And eventually, this will get a even higher level Apple hasn't labeled, but where they're going to add an additional layer of authentication on top of this to prevent further attacks. So very advanced, very interesting, and I don't think any of this really matters to the average user, but it's cool that Apple's going to this length because a lot of government institutions use iPhones.
You're saying that there about how it's quite rare for Apple to call out rivals. I think I was working on this week because there was a report that Microsoft and Meta are lobbying the EU to say that Apple is not complying with this whole thing of the third-party app stores, that Apple is just not doing it right, I suppose, is the way, or not doing it the way those two companies went. And Apple issued a statement on the record obviously in response to this, directly after it, but not naming any of those companies, just laying out its case again of it's concerned about security, it's doing this for that, it's trying to be helpful for users, but also all along the way it was, and we did this for a year with the European Commission. And it was like, duh, we did it with them. It can't be not complying and things like that. And I thought that was quite close to strident, actually, for a statement from Apple. Yeah.
Apple, again, I think people are just mad that the system as it is written, Apple is complying with, but they're just not happy with how the system is written. This is the problem with regulation, and we could do a whole show on this. Everyone wants Apple to be regulated. Well, not everyone, but people who want Apple to be regulated think it's a magic solution that's going to fix everything. And it's like, no, regulation can solve some problems, but it creates new ones because the regulators generally don't know what they're talking about. And the people who have these problems aren't the ones writing the bills, writing legislature. They don't know what they're asking for. They think that they've covered all the bases, that they've screwed Apple into a corner, that they can only comply in the way that the people like Epic Games or Microsoft or Facebook want to see happen. And it's just not the case. There's no such thing as a perfect law. There's no such thing as a perfect bill to lock you into this corner that makes everyone happy. It's just not going to happen. So that's why there's a story we can cover here in a moment about a meditation app, but that's a little later if we have time. But they're approaching Apple by having conversations with the development team, by talking to Apple themselves, trying to be really nice about it, more or less, and actually just get in underneath and say, look, we're this team. This is what we're trying to do. We're not trying to steal candy from babies. We just want these meditation teachers to be able to be tipped. What can we do to not have to pay a commission on this? And they're trying to work forward with Apple versus, releasing a cooperative planned effort and attack to secretly include a in-app purchase and an entire advertisement industry surrounding a new lawsuit that's taken to the Supreme Court. Yeah, I think the two methods are very different, and one's going to work over the other. One makes Apple very angry, and one makes Apple more considerate, and we'll see which one works in the end, of course. But I don't think Epic's ever going to get what they want.
No, I mean, Epic wants a free ride, and who doesn't, I suppose. But I do remember thinking when, just specifically the Epic thing, when that kicked off, the first day it happened, it seemed like Apple was being very heavy-handed at getting rid of them. And you knew there was something more to it, but then you find out that apart from Epic going on about, oh, we're standing up for the little person, and this is a terrible thing, we must respond, they'd actually planned to incite it for several months. They'd filmed a video ready for it and things like that. I think they were stupid to tell us that, but we would have guessed it eventually anyway. And the moment all of that was going on, I thought, oh, right, big corporation, out for itself, doesn't care about us, and I kind of switched off from them. And previously, I was, as being such a gamer, I was in Is it Fortnite? Yeah, I was in Fortnite every 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah, okay.
Fortnite copied the Roblox model so they could make more money. I mean, come on. There's nothing altruistic about that company. But anyway, I think we have a little bit more time for more Apple Vision Pro information. We'll keep this one quick because we've already talked about it a little bit, but I believe on last week's episode, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked a little bit about the travel case, right?
Yes, this strange thing. It reminds me of The Prisoner and the big white bubble-like thing, but you've got one, I take it, and you wrote the review, didn't you? That was coming out.
Yes, so the review's out, and people are a little upset that I gave it 2 stars. I explain heavily in the review that I actually like this device, but our review system isn't for me, it's for everyone else. It's just not a very good travel case. I think it's a good storage case, honestly. It's a nice place to put Vision Pro when I'm not using it, or if I do need to take it somewhere, at least I have an option. I'm going to be looking at different options later, but this is what I had at the time. So the best option is the only one you have, kind of thing. But no, 2 stars, I'll stand by it. It's gigantic. Someone was arguing with me that people regularly commute with 35-liter bags. Do you measure bags in liters over there?
No. Just big ones and little ones. Actually, no, I think you can find out, but I've never been...
It's not something that comes up. It's not a general... You have to be a backpack, enthusiast to know what sizes backpacks are. Because I agree, I've never heard another human being other than nerds mention a backpack's liter size. But if you think about it, a 10-liter bag would hold maybe an iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard, a set of headphones, and a controller, and you would quickly be running out of space at that point. But it'd be very slim, very light. 15 liters, you have room for a MacBook and an iPad, and have a compartment space for multiple things, including a change of clothes, snacks. Like that 5 liters actually makes quite a difference. 21 liters would get you. That's more of an overnight. So now you have enough room for an overnight bag rather than just commuting. There's just more space for more things. 35 liters. This person was arguing was like, oh yeah, you can I regularly travel or commuting, meaning going to and from work with this bag. A 35-liter bag would weigh like an incredible amount. I'm not even going to put a weight to it because whatever I guess would be wrong. But it's just gigantic. And we're getting to the point where I'm thinking of my sea bag, and what you call a sea bag in the military, in the Navy anyway, is that giant green bag that you see people leaving to go on deployment with. So what level do you need to be carrying for the Vision Pro travel case to make sense? And 15 liters is too small. 21 liters, you're taking up half of the compartment. So you have room for maybe a bag of chips and a t-shirt on top of it. So that's why you're getting into the 30s before the travel case becomes travelable, and maybe you're getting on an airplane with a 35-liter case, as long as that backpack actually meets the length and width requirements of carry-on. Sure. But no, it's just too big. If it takes up half of my 21-liter backpack, which is my personal large bag, if I'm traveling big, that's my big bag. That's what I take with me. I pack like 3 days worth of stuff in that thing. And this takes up half of that. And Vision Pro is much, much smaller than this case. So I just find it very odd that Apple would call it a travel case. They should have called it a storage case.
Got to admit, I'm tempted now to pour water into my various bags to see how much they contain, but I'm certain the one I regularly commute with is at least 40 litres, because the thing is, I'm obviously stronger than you with all the sports that I play. That's how it works out. Yeah. Okay.
Do you know the name of your bag?
It's actually unfortunately discontinued. It's got a bungo bag, and I blanked on the name of the company. The company still exists, and they're really good. Nomo bags, Knomo, based in London, but they also sell in the States. They make gorgeous bags, and I overload this one ridiculously with things. In fact, so much so, it was on the passenger seat of my car the other day I was driving somewhere, and the car believed it was a person. I had so much on there, and it was flashing the "Why aren't they wearing their seatbelt?" sign.
That's funny. You got to buckle it up.
Exactly.
So what I would like for me personally, so I'm going to be trying a few of these cases. You'll see reviews eventually. Don't expect it soon. Still waiting on them to arrive. So that's pretty early in the review process, waiting to actually review the thing. But I'm going to be looking at these. I think my favorite might be the water-filled. Yes, you have to detach the bands every time, and people in the comments saying this, I think none of them own a Vision Pro. It is incredibly simple. You just snap a little thing, and the
oh right, I didn't know that.
And the band comes off. It's a quarter of a second, and now you've returned half of the volume of your backpack just because of that. I think that case is going to be really nice. There's going to be a few others. There's some cheap ones on Amazon people have been recommending that are fine for getting the job done. I think what I would like to see, which no one's probably going to make because Vision Pro is such a low volume object, I think it would be interesting to see a backpack with like a compartment designed for Vision Pro inside of it. Kind of like how every bag now has a laptop sleeve. Why not have a headset sleeve somewhere inside of a bag?
Did you ever use AirPods Max?
I'm wearing them right now.
Oh, right. Did you get the case for it, the bra-shaped case?
Well, that's included with it.
Right, that
that's Apple's
good
sleep-wake
to me,
case.
Actually. I suppose I don't know whether... I mean, I've never even seen it, so I don't know how it feels and things, but is it just for storage on site, or would you travel with that as a protector?
It sits on a shelf in my office until I leave anywhere with it. But if I travel with my AirPods, they go in that case because it sleeps it, so the battery doesn't drain, and it protects. It prevents scratches on the aluminum shells. So it's a useful travel mechanism. It goes in a bag next to everything else.
Seems very neat design to me, whereas the Vision Pro one seems kind of bulbous in a way. So just surprised.
It's silly because everyone's like, "Oh, I need a travel case for my AirPods Max," but it triples the size of the AirPods Max when you put it in a case versus the "quote unquote" bra that people complain about. I actually don't mind it; it's fine. But
it's good to me. But yeah, okay.
I also wrote about the inserts. So if you had questions about the optical inserts, go check that out. It's just a little hands-on. There's not much to say. They're eyeglass inserts to help you see, but maybe you don't know how to order them, or you don't know what's covered, because it doesn't cover every eye condition and it doesn't cover every prescription option. Some prescriptions are too strong for Zeiss to make currently. So yeah, the Apple Vision Pro is actually quite the exclusionary product. It's one of the few things Apple makes that some people just cannot use, period. At least today. That will change with time as things get better. It'll get easier to make certain types of inserts. Different companies might make inserts for it, but certain types of correction, like prism correction, just you cannot do that with the Zeiss lenses. But if you can correct your vision using soft contacts, you don't even need inserts. So just keep that in mind.
Are the inserts easy to take in and take out again?
Yes, the magnetic level is very light. I've actually dropped the Vision Pro before, and they kind of pop out like AirPods out of the case.
You've dropped the Vision Pro?
Well, it hit a carpet. It's fine.
Okay, right.
Not a scratch. It was one of those stupid moments where I'm sitting in a chair at my desk, and the cable caught on the arm when I was backing away, and it just pulled the Vision Pro into But I think it kind of swung from the cable and then just grazed the floor, so it didn't drop straight down to the floor. There was no damage. It's just oops, I need to pay attention to that from now on, and it hasn't happened since. So.
I have this image that it did it in slow motion, just for emphasis, as it got nearer to the bottom, and then drama, excitement, tension.
So, when do you think the Apple Vision Pro 2 is coming out? I'm not talking about Apple Vision Air or SE or what have you. When do you think Apple Vision Pro
the
2?
sequel?
Yes.
It feels too early if it's exactly a year away, but then 2 years feels too long. A year and a quarter, year and a half, year and 3/4, maybe.
Right. So I'm
trying to get. I feel like you know the answer, and I'm trying to get it really. A year and a half. Okay, I've plumped for that. I'm a sports betting man. I'm putting my money on a year and a half. Please tell me I'm right. So
Mark Gurman agrees with you about 18 months.
All right.
So this isn't new information. This has actually been heavily discussed in the rumor sphere. Not by anything too credible, I don't think. But every supply chain information and such points to, at a minimum, 18 months. So from release, not announcement. So everyone's like, oh, but they announced Vision Pro in June 2023, so that means it'll come out, the next version's coming out in 25. That's great. No, that's not how this is going to work. So people confused by this product right now today, there might be 500,000 units by the end of the year, maybe 600,000 if we're being really generous, according to estimates. These aren't my numbers. I didn't make them up. So in a year, less than 1 million. In 2 years, we might hit maybe 2 million penetration, and some estimates put it taking up to 3 years before we even can consider getting close to 10 million penetration. And that's only on shipments, not on sales. So, of course, at this price, so we're talking about a product that's difficult to make, low volume, high price. How often do you think? I don't understand people's need. I do. People think that if this comes out with an updated model next year, it's going to be this radical new design that's lightweight and amazing and costs $1,000. That's everyone's usual thought process here. No. If Apple does anything, they might update the chipset. I don't think that's going to happen either, because again, they're undermining their own supply chain at that point. This is a 26 fall, 27 spring at the soonest for the announcement of the device, let alone release, as for Apple Vision Pro 2. At least that's my estimate. You can write it down, tell me I'm wrong when they announce it in 6 months. But I don't believe that this is even an 18-month device.
I'm interested in the time of year. So I was thinking things like Apple Watch always gets announced around the same time as the iPhone, and originally it's because you kind of had to. You had to have an iPhone with the watch, and also the watch was small enough that it needed the attention, and now I think it doesn't. It could spread out on its own to the point of the year. Would you announce a new Vision Pro on the heels within a month or two of the iPhone launch, or would you try to push it somewhere else in the year?
This is an iPad. Treat it like an iPad, especially the iPad Pro, which usually is an 18 to 24 month cycle. But I'm putting this closer to a 24 to 36 month cycle. But it's just going to land where it lands. It could be a spring release. It could be an October release. This is a device I think that falls in the iPad lane. So, of course, maybe you'll get its own event. I don't think it could be announced alongside some iPads in a March event, maybe. But this is definitely not an. Here's an iPhone. Here's some AirPods and Vision Pro. The end. That's not how Apple's going to do it. It's going to get its own giant time slot in one of these events.
This week's episode is brought to you by Fast Growing Trees. Did you know Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the US with more than 10,000 different kinds of plants and over 2 million happy customers in the US? You can grow lemon, avocado, olive or fig trees inside your home on top of the wide variety of houseplants available. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to order online and your plants are shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. And along with their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, they offer free plant consultation forever. You've got to love that. And you've got to love that Alive and Thrive guarantee. I'm not in the US, so I haven't been able to buy from Fast Growing Trees for myself, but I have as a gift for a friend in the States, and I could buy for her knowing that she'd get the plant within just 1 or 2 days, and knowing that Fast Growing Trees has growing and care advice that's available to her 24/7. And right now they have the best deals online, up to half off on select plants. Plus, listeners to our show get an additional 15% off when using the code AppleInsider at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code AppleInsider at checkout. fastgrowingtrees.com, code AppleInsider. Offer is valid for a limited time. Tell them we sent you, and thanks to Fast Growing Trees for their support of the Apple Insider podcast. Actually, I think about this a lot because I think Apple is extremely good at when it announces what. It isn't just we finally got it ready. It's really, really well planned to what will get maximum attention and what will help other things, what will hinder other things. I've been hearing in the last few days that an Apple Smart Ring is going to come out soon, and I don't believe it because we've just got the Vision Pro. It feels just the drama of it, the show of it is wrong. Do you know what the kind of the strength of that Ring rumor is? Because I've just seen headlines.
Well, the Apple Ring thing has been rumored for a while, just like foldables. It's kind of a fad rumor. Apple obviously is investigating this. It would be another metric for tracking heart rate. If you're wearing it in tandem with an Apple Watch, you could probably get a better. You could get a 2-point ECG. Right, there's multiple things that this thing could be useful for, kind of, but it's not going to cover anything the Apple Watch doesn't already cover. So maybe you'd give people the option of wearing it instead of an Apple Watch, which is my assumption, and allow people to wear their nicer, fancy watches, but still get some of their health tracking benefits. Do you wear an Apple Watch?
Yes, I do, and there are watches that are fancier. No.
Would you wear a ring? No.
It depends what it does. I tried out a Wear WEAR for work ring last year or the year before, and I actually found it very handy when I was giving a presentation. No, it must have been before COVID. That's the last time I've done slides somewhere, and just being able to kind of vaguely gesture at the screen and my thumb catch the side of the ring to change the slide. I like that a lot. Actually, I found that very useful because if you control it through A clicker, you don't really have quite as much ability to gesticulate, which I need. And if you control it through your phone, I've realised people think you're messaging somebody. So a ring was actually really good in that purpose. Yeah.
William, you don't even need a ring. I think Apple's a little behind. I heard the man who got the brain implant can now control a mouse cursor with his mind.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Listen, I'll get straight on that after I've watched some football. Yeah.
I don't think the two are compatible.
That's a shame. Yeah, because I
So
was rooting for both of them. Okay. Yeah.
Apple's new iPhone color, it's not blue, is it?
Well, I'm hearing this, but I can hold out hope for it a little bit. I ever explained to you why I like blue on Apple devices? Because it's such an obscure reason. I've probably been too embarrassed to tell anybody. Because it's a quote from the BBC 30 years ago, 40 years ago. There was a joke about it in one of the thing called the Computer Programme, part of the BBC Computer Literacy Project. Somebody goes to buy a computer and ends up with, do you have it in blue? And it's all hilarious. And actually it was funny at the time, but for some reason it stuck with me. And as it turns out, when there is a blue iPhone, I am now drawn to it. The power of television. It's tugging me that way. Whereas you don't care. No.
No, you've been incepted by the BBC.
Yes. Okay.
No, so there is a rumor, who knows the credibility here, that at least there will be yellow and gray. Fine. I mean, it's an iPhone color. They happen every year. We'll see when Apple announces it. These are one of those rumors that almost never happen. Last year we knew it was going to be 3 different shades of gray, and that's kind of what we got. I don't expect Apple to shock us with color anymore. Not since the iMac. That was the last time I was surprised by color from Apple. From now on, I expect, at least for the next few years, it's just going to be kind of okay.
There was that green iPhone Pro a couple of years ago, which, fine if you like green, but the advert for it was frightening. The green was like biting the side of the screen and things. That colour surprised me a little bit. But
So, speaking of updates and AirPods, the AirPods Max could get an update, but this rumor is claiming that it could be a very minimal update, lacking any excitement. Have you seen this one?
Well, no, but the headphones. I mean, yeah, I bet there's going to be Lightning will change to USB-C, but what else could there be?
Well, there's a lot, because the headphones I'm wearing right now came out, I believe, in December of 2019.
Goodness.
And haven't been updated since. So there's a lot of technology missing from these headphones, these $550 headphones that cannot do many of the things the AirPods Pro can today.
Oh, so noise cancelling and things like that, is it?
Well, it does noise cancelling. It just doesn't have the new noise cancelling. They're H1 chips. So there's technology here. It's just the older technology. And automatic switching and whatnot is there. It's just the older, it's the less good version of all of this. There's no real Find My integration like the AirPods Pro 2 have. The lossless audio with Apple Vision Pro. The lossless audio with Apple Vision Pro that AirPods Pro 2 with USB-C can do, not here. It needs a special 5 gigahertz radio for that.
Oh, okay.
And it's a H2 to H2 connection, which these AirPods Max have H1s. So hopefully Apple would give us at least a modern version that does as much as the AirPods Pro 2 do today. That would be a great update. I would instantly buy it. It would have USB-C. Great. But this rumor suggests all Apple's going to do is release a USB-C version, which I think this is just absolutely wrong. It's not that is not going to be the case.
It's still the same price that it was in 2019. That's because, oh no, there is more than that. The original Apple Pencil came out in 2015, and I think that, I know the same model is still on sale. I think it's the same price it was. So much for, volume and scale, reducing the cost of things.
So one last leak that's not really too surprising. There's one piece of information in here that's actually new. So we've known that the iPad Air is going to adopt the 12.9-inch size class. It's basically going to borrow the chassis from the existing 12.9-inch iPad Pro. But the revelation from this information is how much thinner the new iPad Pros are going to be. So the iPad Airs are just going to be, the old 11-inch iPad Air is going to be the same size. The new 12.9 inch is the old iPad Pro size at 6.4 millimeters thickness. So it's the Air that's at 6.4 millimeters. Now, bear with me. The new 12.9 inch iPad Pro will be 5 millimeters thick. It'll be thinner than the iPad Air. 5 millimeters.
Can I just say, by the way, I love that you said that correctly, 5 millimeters thick, because I remember so clearly when Apple started saying 1 inch thin and things like that, just to try to make it sound better.
Marketing.
But yeah,
they try.
You know, I mean, God bless marketing. I'm all for it. But in that case, that one amused me. I think I have an iPad Pro next to me, the 11 inches, 10 point something inch, and I can't visualize it being much thinner. But
it'd be thinner than the existing 11-inch iPad Pro, which is wild, by a whole millimeter. This is thinner than the iPod Touch, I believe. No, the iPod, the current iPad Pro is thinner than the original iPod Nano. Is the crazy thing. Right. But this at 5 millimeters, it's so much thinner than that. And I can't wait to see YouTubers bend it over their knee because they absolutely will.
Oh, that's a horrible thought. No, get that out of my head. No. I miss the 12.9-inch size that I used to have when I had an original iPad Pro. There's no way I could afford that this time round. But every now and again I miss it because with that size, it was like two iPads next to each other and you felt like your fingers were kind of in the work you were doing. So I'd be very tempted by a 12.9, but
and with an OLED display, I mean this is going to be a beautiful device. I'm excited for it. I think I'm going to be getting one because I found that I'm still using the iPad Pro when I'm not using the Vision Pro, so that's nice. I think I will be upgrading to this new product, get the new metal keyboard. This rumor is possible. I mean, these measurements aren't completely out of whack. There's just some oddities. For some reason, the 11-inch iPad Pro is going to get a little bit longer, but width-wise, it's going to get smaller, versus the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is getting bigger in both dimensions. I don't understand what's happening there, according to these measurements. So who knows? We'll see what happens when Apple announces it. We're expecting something possibly in March. That feels too soon for me, considering Vision Pro still destroyed my wallet. But we'll see what happens as far as ordering these goes. I'm hoping that I'll have some money put away for that by then.
I'm glad you're still using the iPad. I mean, you're such an iPad person that I've been meaning to ask you about it. These devices are slotting into place in your life, really.
Yes, the iPad Mini is still going around the house with me. The iPad Pro with a keyboard. I mean, I can take my Vision Pro to my room and use it, and I have to watch media, but not to work. Sometimes I'll just want the comfort of just lounging back. I have some pillows, just lounge back on the bed and type something up or whatever. And I'll take my iPad to do that. I'm not going to take the whole Vision Pro and the keyboard and the trackpad and all of that and try and sit on my bed and do that kind of work. So the iPad still serves a purpose in certain areas. Vision Pro fits in great in an office environment and certain situations, but I think they're very distinct. They're basically the same operating system as far as things go, just displayed differently. So I want to see what Apple does to further differentiate and better the systems on both devices, especially at WWDC in June.
It's amazing how close WWDC seems already. I mean, I know we're in February, but we're almost at the end of it. I'm doing various things that are in April now, and I'm thinking, April is so close to June. I'm wishing the year away already. This is...
So iOS 17.4's beta came out, and the only real interesting thing here is that Apple has revamped, again, the battery menu in settings. They're always working on this thing. And they've changed it so when you open the battery menu, you see the battery health rating as, instead of a percentage, as a word. They're humanizing it. So now, if your battery health is good, it'll say normal, and then otherwise it'll say something other than normal. I don't know the other words. But you tap this to open it up, and that's where you'll see your percentage capacity and your cycle count. Now, that cycle count used to be in about. Now it's all under battery, which is nice, but this is only for the iPhone 15 lineup. And
Oh,
so I
yes.
bring this up because did you see the news? Apple dug around on the couch cushions. They checked around the labs and they found more battery to give us all. It's a pretty fun story.
It's it. It seems not worrying, but it just I would have thought Apple's testing, pre-release engineering verification test or something, would work out something like the battery capacity. Because one imagines the battery capacity is a massive focus for Apple of trying to get as much as they can, and to suddenly go, oh, do you think maybe did somebody just drop a zero off a spreadsheet in the lab?
So basically, this is my understanding of what's happened, and I don't know anything, but I understand a lot of engineering processes, so this is my guess. They had to certify, right, for something, and they always certified iPhone at 500 for 80%. So there's a test that you put the battery through to certify that, yes, after 500 cycles, the battery will age this much. And they were able to consistently prove that, and make the claim in their PR. But then engineers must have looked at the battery technology and said, we could probably get more out of this. And maybe not even maybe iOS 17 wasn't good enough. Maybe iOS 17.2, they tweaked these systems even further to get more efficiency out of the battery. Something's changed in the last 6 months to allow them to redo the test, but at a higher rating. So now they've done the process of testing it at 1,000 cycles to discover, oh, actually, the battery can survive at this. It wasn't as if the battery suddenly changed. The software is always changing around this. Apple's always tweaking how the battery conserves its power and how well it works. So this is a win for customers. I mean, some people are trying to default to not trusting it, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens when people start getting over that 500 cycle count, if their devices start degrading. But it means years on your device, not months, if this is true.
I just checked my battery health thing, and you're right. I'm on the beta. It says normal, but I kind of want it to say extraordinary. That's what I want. Sort that out. Apple, no. Okay, you're just looking at me now. Okay, right. But I didn't know that about the test. So the only thing I knew about iOS 17.4's beta is that there's been a change to CarPlay. But as I understand it, basically not in my car.
Right. Yeah. You need to have a instrument dash that's connected through the CarPlay system, and only modern cars do that. Like, we're talking 2023 at the soonest, really. Maybe a couple older cars do, but this is not a ubiquitous system, and you can't even aftermarket, I don't believe. But no, just to get back on that, engineering tests proving different systems, I believe they all generally work the same way. You have a goal to hit, so you have to kind of do a proof of concept on that. Gosh, I was just, it's tickling the back of my mind and it's escaping me. But I was reading about how a company had to, it is escaping me. But they were doing basically a test to make sure that a thing worked 1,000 times. And they had to perform the same test 1,000 times to prove that actually was the true rating of this device. Like, that's how intensive some of these systems can be when you're doing like the proof tests on different equipment, batteries, hinges, what have you. It's all the same kind of concept. You're basically proving in the lab that this thing will run the same way consistently across a given product. And Apple was able to confidently say, it's kind of like the waterproofing. Apple can confidently say your iPhone will survive for 5 minutes at a depth of 6 meters, but it's actually better than that in most circumstances. And Apple just won't say that. They're not going to up their water rating, because then they're opening themselves to lawsuits if things go wrong deeper than that. But for the battery life thing, I think if their confidence level is that high, they would have to be really, really confident to say this, because again, lawsuits, they happen all the time. So
you're proving to a minimum, but it could be, well, it will all, it's like a baker's dozen thing, isn't it? 13 just to make sure you always deliver 12 at least. I can follow that, yes. But it was a nice thing to hear about, especially if I don't upgrade to the iPhone 16, because as you know, we've heard from Barclays Bank, the people who would be the people who would know this, there isn't going to be anything special about the iPhone 16 at all.
I believe they have that report prepared every year. I think it actually ships. It's just they change the number, and it's the same report every year.
Oh, I wonder if it's automated with send later, and there's a macro that just updates the number before it goes. Yeah, okay. Right.
In 12,000 years, the aliens will visit Earth and find a working computer, and the article at the top of the screen will be from Barclay's automated system because they forgot to turn it off.
Yes.
And it'll say the iPhone 175,000 is not going to be worth it this year. Skip it. It's not.
Yes.
But that is, I believe, a good show. William, do you have anything to add before we drop off?
No, I'm surprised again and again. Every time we talk about it, I think of something else to ask you about Vision Pro. I hope you don't mind me constantly asking this stuff.
No, you're fine.
It's exciting, isn't it? A whole new platform, a whole new world for all of this. And, yeah, I'm very tempted by it, mostly from you.
If anyone has any questions, speaking of, if anyone has any questions about Vision Pro, after a few weeks of use, we're coming up on a month soon of having the device. I'm going to be writing something about it. So if you have any questions about Vision Pro, productivity, apps, what have you, how it works, what annoys me about it, because there are things I am annoyed by, believe it or not, reach out on Mastodon, Twitter, email, what have you. I'd be happy to either talk to you there or include it in my write-up that I'm working on currently. But yes, as we approach a month, it's still an interesting product. I am starting to shift my office around it. I'm starting to think about workflows, and I'm excited to see what developers do with it. But there's still a lot to come to discuss about this device. But thankfully, as maybe you noticed by this episode today, we only spent about 7 minutes on Vision Pro. So we are dialing it back a little bit. Guys, you can breathe easy. It is still the Apple Insider Podcast. It is not the Vision Pro Insider Podcast, but that would be a fun one to make.
It would, wouldn't it? Yes. All right. Let's talk about that. Okay. Well, yeah.
But
for now, I'll shut up asking you. Maybe next week. Okay.
All right. So you can find me on Mastodon mostly. I am active there. If I see you ping me on Twitter, I'll reply, but I'm not guaranteed to see you. But Mastodon is the best place to find me. William, where can they find you online?
Well, I noticed the other week Mike Weather was on, and he said basically Apple Insider, an email. And I realised, I love email via my Apple Insider address, but I also have a YouTube channel. I am more on Twitter, and I don't fully know why, really. But yes, I can be found on Twitter as W. Gallagher. I'm around more than you there, shall we say. It's
we get some good emails. I've gotten some good listener emails talking about the show and asking questions. And so join in. Don't worry. You're not the only one out there emailing us. And speaking of, we have other shows. We have the Apple Insider Daily podcast. If you like what we're talking about here and just want to hear less of it, the Apple Insider Daily is about 10 minutes-ish every day, recapping the news of the day. And that is a very pleasant, quick listen. I usually listen to it alongside the Apple News Today program that's also about 10 minutes, about world news. And then we also have the HomeKit Insider podcast that I do with Andrew every week that comes out on Mondays. That is a pretty fun show about home automation, Apple HomeKit, and technologies surrounding it. If you would, please go to the Apple Podcast app or your podcast of choice. Give us a review. Don't just give us stars. Throw down some text. Tell us exactly why you love us or why you hate us. It's been an interesting few reviews since Stephen has left. I think people are a little upset about that, but I know that there are some 5-star reviews out there that haven't taken the time to write it down yet. So please, we'd love to hear from you guys. Reach out. And I would like to thank our sponsors once again, SaneBox and Fast Growing Trees, for sponsoring the show. And we'll talk to you next week.